Hey everybody, welcome to turn the captions on. Hey everybody, or son everybody. Welcome to May 11th. I couldn't think of what today's date was. May 11th, our AT Town Hall. Thank you everybody for joining us. I see a handful of people in the chat in the participant list. Only 3 brave souls in the videos. That's okay. We'll get some of you sucked in at some point. Feel free. Make sure you turn your camera on, turn your microphone on, be participating in any way you want. It's okay by us. I feel like we've done this for like 6 months now. That's me. These are all hosted by the Assistive Technology Advocacy Center in New Jersey. Welcome. I'm the director of that center. That's my blurb that I usually say. It's much better. If you want to hear a better one, go back to an older week and you'll hear me explain it nicely. Here's people who could be on the panel. Some of them are here, some are not. Maybe some will pop in. Karen's already threatened to leave in 10 minutes, so she'll be here for just a little
Not a
bit.
threat.
It was more of a statement. It was less of a threat. Don't forget to participate because this is really about us and everybody just chatting. So hopefully you have something you want to ask. Karen had something we started before we hit record. Maybe we'll talk about that first, Karen, and we'll see what other people hear. We have some resources to share. There is a crowdsourced Google Doc. So that's at bit.ly/remote access for all. The number 4. Don't forget the AT Chat website where all of these nice recordings live of all these great town halls and a bunch of other stuff. We're trying to make that a nice resource site, so we just keep adding to it. If you have something you'd like to see on there, let us know. And Kelli and Elisa will webmaster it right up for us. Well, maybe not right up, but they'll webmaster it for us. If you're interested in a virtual AT Expo, look, there it is on the wall over there to give you a sense of how far it's coming along. That is happening on May 20th. It's part of a grant that I have with the New Hampshire Department of Ed along with Jen Savage. And we are doing this virtual expo, which has 25-minute presentation sessions, 25-minute ed camp sessions, 25-minute vendor presentations. So you get the flow there, 25 minutes long. Short little sessions. You can kind of pop in and out all day long. There are 5 tracks of sessions for 9 sessions, and some quick math tells me that's 45, along with 3 different tracks of vendor sessions. So quite a few things you could pop in and out of throughout the day. So the link is at that website. That takes you to the Eventbrite, which is bit.ly/ATExpo520. And the Eventbrite will have the link to the online schedule that you can look at too.
That
All
grid
right.
is amazing on your wall.
And it looks good, right?
Wow.
I need to see things
Fabulous.
on the wall. I can't look at them on a spreadsheet. I need to see it in real life so I can move things around. Yeah, but that I like it too. It makes me smile when I see it. It looks cool. All right, so that was all the nonsense we do in the beginning. So let's get started. How is everybody? Karen, you want to share your question from before we started the recording?
Sure. I was wondering what local districts are deciding about next fall, or even if that conversation is happening. I know it's happening locally here, so I'm just curious what other districts are thinking.
Well, for our district, hi Karen.
Hello.
For our district, we're preparing for 3 options. So we are talking about fall, but we're talking about, like at our meeting this morning with special education, it's that we come back fully as we did, with no social distancing, a social distancing option, what that might look like, shifts, not shifts, different grade levels, AM, PM, all sorts of different in-betweeny options, and then totally virtual again. So we're talking about all of that, and there's definitely some uncertainty about extended school year and summer school services and what's happening with that and how exactly that's going to be delivered. So our school board did just determine that we normally end, our regular calendar was to end June 19th, but the school board had voted and agreed to allow the students' last day to be June 12th. And then the last week would be some professional learning, and think that might look like, we don't really know, is probably some trauma-informed practices, probably some distance learning practices, and then certainly delivering curriculum and content in this format. So it's still really all up in the air, but we're trying to be really bendy and flexible because we just don't know. And it's going to be like, it's like a hurry up and wait. It kind of feels like you're at the airport, right? Because you like hurry up and you get in your cohort and you wait in line, but then it's like, okay, now I can't go to the bathroom. Now I can't get a drink of water. I just stand here until they call my group. So it's kind of, we're in that pattern. So
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody else is the same, but that's sort of where we are.
Yeah, thanks, Lauren.
Yeah. I think that's where a lot of people are, right? It's too soon to even know. So you, like Lauren said, you prepare these kind of parallel tracks that allow you to kind of hop and move around them depending on what happens. I also think we're all going to be in different spots come September, all of our places where we live. So who knows what it's going to be like.
And we're really just now having that final, yes, we are in fact doing virtual extended school year services. So we haven't really even jumped. I'm sure there are conversations happening that I'm not privy to the next year, but we really haven't even jumped there yet because our school year ends at the end of the month. So whatever the last Friday after Memorial Day is, that's how our traditional school year was set to end. We haven't altered it at all. And then we'll jump right into extended school year for the majority of June. So we really haven't looked past that yet.
There it is, Karen. You stumped everybody.
Conversations, but of course everything's up in the air. I like your analogy, Lauren. It's like waiting at the airport in line. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. You know, just as an aside, do you know the airlines are finally doing what they should have done in the first place? And now they're boarding people from the back of the plane row by row.
It took this for,
they used to do it.
Yeah,
a little aside. I just saw that the other day, and I was like, well, duh, why are we not doing that? Well, all right, it's another story.
It's logic, Mike. It's
logic. Yes, of course, that makes perfect sense. But all right, that's fine. Until I'm a million-mile person, and then I get to sit first. I don't care. I'll wait for my row.
I brought up something at the beginning that I think is worth talking about because there's probably going to be, if I can use the word spectrum, of kids that do and don't come back to school. So what I was saying is, as a physical therapist, many of the students I work with in that role require close contact for bathroom, feeding, management, even moving them around the school, walking them or pushing a wheelchair. And I'm expecting, if our state continues with social distancing guidelines or the district determines that's the way to do it, many of these kids will probably not be able to come to school because there's no way to maintain that. And unless the district wants to be responsible for PPE and kind of medical grade care, I think we may end up with some kids who continue on distance learning, either because their own immune system won't handle it or because of the risk it poses to staff. And then we have other kids coming that are maybe at a staggered, maybe they're 2 days a week, 3 days a week. So I'm trying to prepare myself for all of those possibilities, but I don't think distance learning is going to go away. The population that it is delivered to may change over time, though.
Yeah, we're fully prepared for there to be a gigantic increase in hospital homebound students, both for educational needs and for therapy needs.
There's something else to consider, and that's, at least in my districts, the majority of the assistants who are working with those students are either older or have some pre-existing health condition, diabetes, post-cancer, something else. So you have to figure out how to parse this stuff out. You can't just dump. I guess maybe I'm dumping it on you guys, but I feel like you can handle it. But when I talk to administrators, it's like, okay, which topic am I going to bring up this week? Because they're already thinking about so much. And many of them have thought through this, but there's when you start to dig into what it's going to take to get our most severely disabled population, the ones who really benefit from being out of the house and being back in school, it's going to be a big lift.
Yeah, it is. I think, and to kind of piggyback on that, Bruce, I think that another thing too is, what's the procedure for a family that says to a school, I don't want my child back in school. I want you to continue to distance teach them. And it's a personal preference. And then are schools going to be prepared for that? And are they going to accept that? I think that's kind of an interesting piece too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, no answers, just more thoughts about it. It's kind of an interesting dilemma. It's not even a dilemma, just an issue that will pop up.
Yeah. Any administrators in the chat in the group today?
Wait, I'll look, see if I know anybody offhand.
So you can call them out.
I'm just gonna call them. I'm just gonna turn their camera on.
You should just call out Rachel just because.
You want to? Where is she? She's in there.
Hey, you can call me out, but you have to give me a pay raise for being an admin.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, so I don't know the questions of what's going to happen there. It's kind of interesting. It's more of those, isn't it funny? Like, we had not even, you go back and I think about the conversations we've had in this weekly chat as we've started and then kind of worked to this next phase. And then that's like the next phase that now we're just finally starting to talk about, which makes me think people are comfortable with some of those other phases now.
So the thing that's interesting too is this is really disrupted education, and I'm not telling anyone anything they don't know. But what's interesting is in previous years, they couldn't do like a 15-minute recess because that cut into teaching and learning time, because it had to be 950 hours a year that you had to do. So a 15-minute chunk of recess every day would interfere with that. And look at what we're doing now. It's just so different. So I think it's going to really upend some of those state Department of Ed decisions and edicts that come down.
Yeah. And I don't even know how many edicts we're seeing coming down quite yet, to be honest. I don't really see many in my state. Right? And Bruce shook his head. No, I don't really see. I was on a webinar with the New Jersey Department of Ed the other day as a participant, just sitting there. It wasn't like me part of it, but I didn't hear a lot of answers, and I didn't hear a ton of guidance either. I heard kind of a piecemeal, we hear somebody's doing this, we hear somebody's doing that, we hear a lot of districts are not doing this, and so they just kind of had these little, what I would call these little disconnected morsels of information. They weren't even good enough to call them nuggets of information, they were morsels. But no real kind of thought out plan. And that was concerning a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what's happening in our state too, although they are saying districts, you do have to teach new concepts.
Right.
Because for a long time, people were just saying, just review what you've already done. And DESE, the Department of Elementary and Special Secondary Education, finally did say, no, you do need to be teaching, and you do need to be meeting the needs of your students on IEPs. But up until then, it was really open-ended.
Yeah, and I feel like that was a beginning thing, right? That was in the very beginning, like you just hang tough and just review, and then people realize, oh no, we're going to be out for a while. We better do something new, and now we just continue on this thought. I don't know. Anybody else? Thoughts on this?
Thank you all. I do have to run. It's great to see everybody. See you Wednesday night at AT Chat, maybe?
Okay, Karen.
All right.
I'll see you there. Thanks. See ya.
Bye.
Bye, Karen.
All right. Who was going to jump in?
I'm sorry Karen jumped off. This is Jen.
Hey, Jen.
In Massachusetts, so now, there's some good things happening, but still not related services are not providing direct online support.
And Jen, that just blows my mind because I don't know how they're saying like every other part of the IEP has to be implemented, but those therapy services, and yes, is it hard to kind of shift sometimes people's mindsets to teletherapy? Trust me, that was my entire month of March and April. I get it. It's hard, but like, just because it's hard, does that mean we don't have to do it? I don't understand the logic, I guess, behind it, or the non-logic.
No logic. I mean, it's mind-boggling. It's probably good Karen left because this would make her spit nails because we're both in Massachusetts. It's. I guess in some ways there's good things in that there's this intense consult model, and they're offering consult services with the teachers, but there isn't. There's this weird disconnect. They're not connecting directly with families,
and that's
even for
it's so disheartening because like my therapist, that's probably one of the gigantic silver linings they've found is they've been able to build rapport with families in a way that we were not doing when their kids were in school because their families were so disconnected from what was happening. So we have parents that are like, oh, I never knew you used that one sentence to help them remember their self-regulation strategy, their calm down strategy. That's really great. I tried it like those little things that weren't happening before. I think that's part of, my therapist, like silver linings. It's part of their successes that they share every week is, we were able to help a parent. And I had therapists ask, parents are asking about following routines at home. And I said, I absolutely can make a case for that being school-based. Like, we're going to stretch a little, but like this to me, if it's following routines, that's a skill we need at school. So I don't care what routine it is you're helping support that family follow, like just do it, make that visual schedule and help them do it. And I think that's been super helpful. It has not been easy to pivot some of our therapists, but like the thought that they could just say it's hard, so we're not going to do it. Like, I don't understand that. Like, I have therapists that were the biggest skeptics in the beginning that were like, this is not going to work. And they're like, this is going way better than I thought it would. And I really am enjoying this.
See, I'm a school-based OT in Connecticut, and we're going to start doing some teletherapy. Our problems that we're finding are, number one, the parents are incredibly overwhelmed. Yeah. They don't even want to hear from other people at this point. What they've been really focusing on are a lot of Google Meets for the classroom. So I've been tagging along a little bit with that. The other problem is that finding time in these kids' days as well as our days. Our days are filled with meetings, webinars like this, going to things like this, PPTs that we had to make up from behind, plus all the ones that are hitting. And the amount of kids that we have to do is insane because I work with a CODA, and CODAs are not, according to Medicaid, they can't be paid. So I have to see the kids, and we can't group them. We can't. So it's very overwhelming.
That's state by state because in Florida, CODAs and PTAs can serve, and we're caring less about whether Medicaid can reimburse and more about whether they can serve the kids. So if it happened that our CODA couldn't serve and be reimbursed by Medicaid, we would still have them serve, and we would not be reimbursed for Medicaid by then. But that must be state by state because, and that's unfortunate.
I think it's good to share that. Like, it's more than just, it's not that it's just hard. It's like, it is complicated too. And I'm worried about when parents do start going back to work, how are we supporting these kids? Like, gen ed and our students with more significant needs. I just think there's so much more to keep sharing what is working and what might be possible. And it's so different state to state. I mean, I have my good friends in OT in Rhode Island. She's providing telehealth services for families and pretty much has been from the beginning. So it's just there's so many complex factors in trying to provide these services. I think just keep getting the word out and presenting and sharing what's working. Mm-hmm. Folks are coming around, but it's overwhelming. I'm sure you feel like you work more than you ever have. All of us are feeling like we work so much.
Yeah, it's definitely overwhelming. And it's also that point of, it doesn't it mirror what we think about with AT services also. And Alyssa, I'll use you as the example, because I see at the little bottom of my screen there. Alyssa's district's doing this. is the district right next door doing this?
Right.
There are more districts in Florida than are not, but not every district is.
Right. And so it's similar to how we think of assistive tech services a lot of times. It's pockets that I think it's getting done. I think we're having the same issue. You know, I'll go back to that webinar I was on. The person from the state mentioned that there were no districts doing related services remotely. And I'm thinking, well, that's weird because I serve a district that's doing it. So I think they are doing it. So I think, again, there's the disconnect, is that I don't know if it's reached a critical mass yet where people go, oh, that's how you could do it. I think you have innovative people. Sounds like assistive tech services, by the way. You have innovative people who figure it out and do a really great job of getting it done. But then there could be someone right next door who's not doing it at all because they haven't had that spark of creativity or innovation to go like, oh, that's how I could do this.
Well, and I think until people see or hear, I mean, we had some therapists that were hesitant at the beginning, and it was our other therapist that had just jumped out and tried it and said, okay, this is great. And that's not to say that every single kid is getting the exact services that were on their IEP. Right. In the very beginning, we went out to them and said, what do you need? You know, we're willing to provide, we can provide teletherapy, but if you're in a place where paper materials and phone call supports is working for you, that's what we're going to provide. And I'd have to go look at the response rate, but I mean, we have a significant amount of families that elected teletherapy and had the technology. We do have an equity problem in our district, like everywhere else, where it's not possible. And those are kids that next year we're going to have some hard conversations about what do we do about that lack of services during this time. Did the data show that they regressed? I think we're going to have bigger conversations, just like we're going to have more kids on hospital homebound next year because they're not going to come back to school. I think we're going to have some kids that did have significant regression, not just in therapy worlds, but in all cases that we have to look at. How do we do that? Like, in some schools, cross-school remediation because they missed 6 months.
Right. But you said a key piece there, Elisa. You talked about communication. You guys reached out to the parents and figured it out. You started the conversation. Some of the best emails I've gotten back from this district I'm in are just like, no, I'm good now, but I'm glad that you asked me if I'm good. And at least I know that I could reach out if I had to. We've been doing these parent meetings at like 4:30 and 7 o'clock trying to figure out what works best. Little nugget of info. 7 does not work. 4:30 works perfectly. 7, I sit there by myself and stare at the screen. But at 4:30, people just pop in. They're eating dinner. They come in. We're like, oh, what do you need help with? They're like, nothing. I'm just going to listen for a little bit. Great. Cool. That's perfect. And then they get a little something. And they're like, oh, I never knew that was something we had. And we're showing them tools that we have already in district, like by the way, you have access to this. All you got to do is turn it on. And so those were good. But we've had people, and it's been a nice kind of feedback loop back to the director. The director has gotten emails from parents. These are the same parents that have sued the district in the past. And she had said, when I see an email from them, before I read it, I get a little tense. And it's emails saying, thank you for doing this. And I really appreciate you making sure that we are okay on our end. And I think when you do that, like any other time where we do effective communication, you do that and it makes everything that happens after it run just a little bit smoother. People are willing to give you a little flexibility, a little leeway. They're willing to work collaboratively a little bit because they see you opening that collaboration up. And I don't think every school's doing that. I think some schools are hiding. And it's the please don't email me today. And they're just waiting for the shoe to fall, that other shoe to fall. So I don't know, it's interesting. All right, so now Lauren, I know you go to bed at 7 o'clock. Not you, but I'm assuming it's everybody.
I'm assuming little ones.
I thought it might be Lauren. I don't want to judge Lauren. That's fine.
I wish I could go to bed at 7 o'clock.
The two things that have been successful, and this is both for PT and AT, have been teaming with already established meetings, and for some of the pretty severely involved kids, they have check-ins with their favorite assistant. So I've been joining those. What I found was when I sent out communication to families and said, is there something I can do to help? I was mostly thinking along the PT line with equipment you have at home, or nothing came back. When I started joining the meetings with the assistants, while I'm on, they're like, oh, can you take a look at this?
Yeah.
And I think it does relate to, they only have a limited amount of time, and their child seeing this assistant is such a positive thing that I already am getting in on something that is looked forward to.
Right.
And the other has been putting content either for specific students or for entire classes in Teachers Seesaw and Google Classroom. So looking for exercise sheets, exercise videos, things you can do with a laundry basket. Someone had some posting, and the feedback I've been getting on those is that the kids are really enjoying them. The teachers like having the additional activities, and if I have something that's very specific, I can just send it to that student either in Seesaw or Classroom. So that's been better than me trying to do something on my own. I'm trying to, just like as a related service, I'm not a standalone service. I'm trying to achieve the same thing that I was doing previously.
Exactly. How can we infuse what we do into the experience? Yeah. And I think it was Mickey said it, let's not create more work for someone, but let's find a way to kind of piggyback and provide some support as we go. Yeah, I think it's a great point. That's awesome. Anybody else? Lauren, what time do you go to bed? What the heck?
It varies.
I'm just checking. I don't know.
Well, sometimes I'm just so exhausted that if I try to sit on the couch, then I like fall asleep at like 9 o'clock, and then I wake up and I'm like, oh my gosh, 10:30. I have to start making lunches and getting ready the next day, and then I'm up till like 1 in the morning. So whenever you can sneak it in is
I agree. That I agree 100%. Sneak them in whenever you can.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's funny. I had one
early risers, so you know.
Oh, they're early.
Oh, just keep them awake. You know, wake up at 5 o'clock. I'm like, well, they're up by 5:15 or 5:30, so.
That's unfortunate.
Like the IV of caffeine or something, or just, I don't know, exercise.
Early rising is not good in my book. I don't like that.
Yeah, we have the nighttime gummy, which is the melatonin gummy, and that has made a huge difference.
Nice. That's the way to do it.
Night vitamin.
So everybody, I had one thought for a conversation topic, only because it started to come up in some of the conversations I had with teams. So you guys suffer because I have these conversations with teams. What are some of the things we're doing to support all of these executive function needs throughout this process? Do you have strategies in place? Are you talking with educators about ways they can ensure that they are being constructive in how they lay out their expectations for students and giving them tools and strategies to help manage this, all these projects? I watched a parent on one of those meetings the other night scroll through, because she shared her screen, scrolled through 3 different Google Docs that all had links in them that she had written for herself, and we were trying to find the one link that I had shared with the group, and she couldn't find it. She said, wait a second, I think it's on this page, and she proceeded to scroll through 3 pages that were just links until she could find it. So then we had a conversation about executive function support for her and for everybody else, but just in general. So what do you guys think? Oh, great. That's cool. We don't have to talk about what I had. We can talk about whatever you guys want.
Well, we've been doing a lot of adjusting the visual schedules that were in the classroom to the new normal routine, because I think that once we found a good tool that works, it's also, again, it's one of those things that's been very helpful for parents, because they have now been able to see, how do we implement it? It's great because our parents, other people are able to kind of show them, hey, this is how we use this, but we've readjusted it. And I know OTs have done some other visual supports or like following directions schedules for certain activities that, you know, the new, like, here's how you participate in a, you know, an online class, kind of, here are the 5 things you need to do during your online class to kind of support that. And I know with our high schoolers, we've really worked at, okay, especially like our high school juniors and seniors, like, how do you make your priority list of what needs to get done, and what support do you need to do A, B, and C that might look a little different than what would be the support if you were still going to a school. I mean, we've got kids who are trying to, you know, make sure they get their credits, and that's a super important thing. And the turning in and getting back feedback on assignments doesn't always go as quickly as we want. So, you know, hopefully we're giving them some EF support during that time to just be able to prioritize, because I think that's one big shift, especially our high school kids are having to kind of figure out, because there isn't that consistent, like, walk in, look at the board, see my agenda kind of routine that they're used to. It's a very different routine.
Yeah, that's my thought too. You're right, because they take those environmental cues a lot of times to support themselves. And if those aren't expressly shared from a teacher, they might go missing, those little prompts. And so thinking about how we do that and what it looks like is, I think, even more critical. Because even the people that are using Google Classroom will say, oh, well, Google Classroom will drop it in your calendar and everything's all good. Well, not particularly. Not all the time, and not for everybody. They might need a different system and a different structure. And, you know, like Elisa said, making those visual schedules and those task boards and anything that helps with the completion of a task and how they do something is so important and so needed right now.
And you're a prime example.
Who's a prime example? Me?
That would be you with your grid behind you.
Oh, with my wall grid?
Yeah, that's a great example of, you know.
It's low tech.
That's
low
right.
tech.
This is Marby. I have 2 thoughts about this part of the conversation. One is this has brought to light something we've been working with teachers on a lot, to mixed success, but the idea of how are students organizing their files. And for our students, their Google Doc files often look like the messy backpack. They're just like all a mess. They're not named conventionally. They're not organized by subject. And so this is a time where we've been able to support teachers to, that could be something they do now, is like, organize your files, make a file for this year, make a folder for every class, begin to name your documents in a conventional way so that you can find them. And I think because of our distance learning, it's causing teachers to realize, oh, that is important. And that's something we might have to do explicit instruction about, because students just don't naturally many times come up with a good document organizational system with their digital documents.
Right.
So that's one thing. Another thing related to organizing, kind of like Mike's board in the back, is one of my friends and neighbors who has a child with autism shared about making a Kanban board. And I'll look that up and send a link, but it's used in a lot of software development groups and other high-tech organizations, but it's a really simple, low-tech way to have columns with things you need to work on, work that's in progress, and then things that have been completed. And it's simple, but it's visual. And she posted how she's using it with her son who has autism at home, and that's been really nice to see that. And I liked it so much that I made one, and it's up on my board in my extra bedroom turned office space. And I'm finding it really helpful. Instead of having all these little pieces of paper around or my notebook, like, I can see it, and it's helping me kind of track what needs to be done. And Lauren and I worked with teachers about this a couple weeks ago, and because we had a request for like a special app to do this, and we're like, no, go simple, go low tech, like, get out some things that you have already in your house, get out sticky notes, get out magic markers, make it simple so that the student can really take ownership and drive. Yeah, there you go. Exactly, Mike. That's exactly right. So we're trying to encourage people, like, go old school, because sometimes that's going to work the best.
Yeah, I agree, and it's a choice to people, right? I think if we were in a different situation now, I don't think I'd have the board on the wall because I would be out and about and moving around and flying all kinds of places. So it would live online and I would suffer through it.
Yeah.
And I would write notes for myself in my Google Keep on my phone. But now, since I sit at the same desk every day for what feels like 18 hours a day, it gets written on Post-it notes now, and it gets resolved, and then I get to rip them up, which is fun too. So just that idea of, different strategies to do different things, and the environment really playing a factor in some of this now.
I just went super low tech and purchased a dry erase calendar, huge one for the family.
There you go.
To color code who does what, and my next step is little QR codes for the 20 links my 7-year-old needs to get to independently.
Nice.
We'll go in old school to help keep organizing the family.
Old school with a touch of a new school stuff.
A little bit of new school, and if it works, I'm going to send it to the school and say, hey, some QR codes or bit.ly links for these things for the little guys. If you're not going to have any type of digital learning management type system, might be helpful for families to stay organized in the house.
For sure. Because again, everybody's kind of trying to struggle their way through this. This is like a whole other second tier of organization we're all having on ourselves. I have work things I need to complete, then home things I need to complete on top of it, and the families have the same issues, and we need to think about that.
Yeah, another thing that we talked about was being like really clear about what the expectation, who they're working with. Like, mommy's in a meeting now, this is independent work, or you're working with daddy, or you're working with your brother, or whatever, and then clearly having that as part of the visual schedule so they know who they can go to for support. So they're not like, knocking on the door, like, you're supposed to be helping me now, and making that part of the schedule too, like communicating the staff person who's working with them.
Your support person on call.
Yeah, right.
It's so true, though. Patty dropped in a question a while back, and I saw it, but it got lost, so I'll come back to it. How did everyone go about getting the word out about your AT office hours for teachers and parents in your districts? How did you communicate that? Oh, Lauren, I didn't see you typed it, Lauren. Sorry. But go ahead. Who was going to talk? Kelly?
Yeah, so this is Kelly. So we just put it all over social media and a newsletter, and then it just spread like wildfire. So it was just trying to meet the outlets that the schools were probably already using and sending them out that way.
Yeah, ours in our school was emails that were going home on a consistent basis from the child study team. They just linked our schedule to it. So our schedule has been decided for the past 3 weeks, 4 weeks, maybe 5 now. I don't know. It's been decided for a while. And it's just, here's where we'll be and when we'll be there. And what we've been dropping in every week or so is we've gone from just the I'm here to talk if you want to chat, and we just kind of sit back and have a conversation, whatever comes up. Now we've made a move with these parent sessions and with some of the staff ones too, we're still here to just sit and chat, but we've also prepared 15 minutes of something we want to show you because we think it might help. And so we're trying to give people little bite-sized nuggets of something in addition to just the kind of open sharing. And we're promoting that to people and saying, oh, remember that thing we talked about that everybody has? We have this program that works and it reads things and it's a graphic organizer and it does this great stuff on the computer. We're going to show you about that tonight. We're going to spend 15 minutes on it, how you get to it, how you open it up, how you use it. And that's it. And then we just open it up for questions as well.
Well, we did something kind of cool. So Marby and I work in the same school division, and our first week we had one, and it was sort of maybe by accident. She might have just been calling Marby for some support, and it was during the open office hours, so we made her come on.
Come on over.
That'll teach her.
We had one that week, and then last week we decided to plan a guided conversation on Tuesday and then have the open office hour on Wednesday. So on Tuesday Tuesday, and now it's kind of like morphed into what we call Tuesday at 2, and we have a guided conversation. So it was AAC and distance learning last week, and then we had a couple people come. What do we have, Marby? 2?
Office hours?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had 2 people for office hours the next day who had, which was great because they were follow-ups from things that came up during the guided converstion.
It's perfect.
And we had like,
and it's twice as many as the first one.
Exactly.
There you go.
I mean, that was awesome. We'll just use that as our performance review right there.
Who's that on your review? It's not about numbers, it's about percentages. You went up 100%.
Exactly. And then how many do we have at the guided conversation? It was like 20.
We had 23 people at the guided conversation, awesome. Which was really fabulous.
That's great.
Yeah. And they were, some people were sharing. So, you know, we'd like to have a few more people, like maybe find some point people and say, could you share this? Mm-hmm. And we called a couple people out in the meeting, you know, nicely, and said, could you share that great thing that you were doing with the student before the closure and how you've continued to do that now? And so that was good because it got some people talking, and not just us talking, like another SLP example to SLPs or teacher example or whatever. And so that went really well. And then I think it drummed up a little bit of business for Wednesday. And then now we've instituted these guided conversations these Tuesdays at 2. And so for 3 more weeks, so we have one on, Marby, remind me, we have
tomorrow we're doing aided language input. Yeah. And then another week we're doing coaching for AAC use. And then another week we were going to look at how Flipgrid is a platform that our county uses. So a third week we're going to look at how to use Flipgrid with the students and their AACs.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
So we got May covered.
Nice job.
Mm-hmm. And then we're done.
And we're done.
And Linda asked, how long are your guided sessions?
We did 1 hour.
Mm-hmm.
An hour? Yeah.
Yeah.
And similar to
people hung in there, I would say, for the majority.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we did, Mike, something similar to what you said, that we had a little bit prepared, we had a little bit of structure, and we had some resources we knew we wanted to share, but we didn't over-plan it. It wasn't over-structured. It really was a conversation that we kind of let it flow, and we threw in those pieces when it kind of was part of what the conversation was.
Yeah, I think it's a good plan, right? I think if you plan too much, people start to feel like that's work again.
Yeah.
As opposed to just having this back and forth, which I think is great. So yeah, finding that balance a little bit of being ready to show something if it starts to wane a bit, mm-hmm. or have things that might fit into the conversation, like a little something. Mm-hmm. I think that's a great way to do it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. I love it.
We showed Sarah, when we started our meeting, Sarah Gregory, we were showing your video of how to run parallels and how to do modeling. And so we were doing that, and somebody came on to our office hours and they're like, oh, what's that thing that you were just showing? Can you put that in the chat? So it was really awesome. So thank you so much. I've been using your YouTube channel a ton, and your videos are just on point with helping people, and they're short enough that people can follow them and step by step. So yay. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing that, Lauren. That's awesome.
That was great. Look at that, Sarah. That was good stuff right there.
Yeah, Sarah, maybe you could put your link in the chat box again for just this week.
Yeah, sure.
If anyone doesn't have that yet.
Nice job, Kelly. Kelly runs a tight ship, man. I just sit back, just kind of hanging out.
Always serious here with me.
Yeah, she's got that serious. She's like, boom, put that in the window. That was good.
So did you guys hear about Wakelet and Teams? Like, they're now integrated. Is anybody using that?
Yes, I use it a ton. I'm not a high Teams user, but I am a Wakelet ambassador. So it is an amazing integration. They've had some good Microsoft integration in terms of being able to read aloud using Microsoft tools for a while. And now you can do some really easy, quick in terms of sharing in and out with your team. So yeah, it's amazing. And there is a video, I'll try to go find it real quick. It's on Wakelet's Twitter that they released, that it is very short and concise about the integration with Teams.
Awesome.
Okay, cool. I was thinking too, Jennifer, when you were talking about like having a QR code or something, because our students use, we're all Microsoft Teams as our platform, trying to think of how to like have all those links in one spot for everybody, and what an easy way to share and have parents find them.
Yeah, right.
That's really challenging.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. And it's always, again, it's another balance. It's like, oh, we have all these cool things we want to show you, but I don't want to show you 400 different things. And so maybe I'll show you 100 things. No, I won't even. But, you know, that idea of, let me show you a quarter of what I have.
Yeah. That's kind of like, I think what's going to help our guided conversations is we're having a topic. I think we might get a little bit more participation because people are interested. Oh yeah, that's something that I want to work on or I want to know more about, and I think that might help our participation a little bit.
Yeah, and Marby, don't you see? It's like it's a progression you guys have had.
Yeah.
Right. It started as we'll talk about anything you want, and now it's moving and it's kind of rolling along with that. Then we have got some stuff that we're going to talk about, and then we have open. Now we have some guiding conversation. Yeah, I think it's a great kind of progression as you move through it.
I think our supervisors have really liked that we're doing it too, because it's a model that no other specialists in our county are using yet, and so I think we're trailblazing a little bit in our county how to be more available to teachers as a specialist by having some of these open times and targeted conversations. And so we're hopeful that the vision specialists, the deaf and hard of hearing teachers, the autism specialists might also consider doing this, so that people can have them more available as resources during this time when you're not like passing by somebody's desk or giving them a quick call on their phone. And so
it was also interesting because our very chatty SLPs, me being one of them, normally when we meet face to face we're like, okay guys, we got to start our meeting, you know, everybody's like talking, and it was like dead silence. And so we had to say to them, like, you got to open your cameras, you got to open your mics, like, we want to see you, you know, be present. It's okay. We don't care if you're eating lunch. And kind of some of that was like breaking down a little bit of the barrier. And they're still really quiet. Like, they're just lurking. They're not, some of them are not, they're like, I need to go to this because I want to hear about this. But they're like not comfortable yet. So it's getting a little bit better. And when I first met with them about a month ago, I think I told you guys the SLPs were like, they were like silent. Like, what's wrong? Are they really traumatized? Like, are they just so stressed out that they can't even engage, and they're just so overwhelmed with how many meetings? And I kept saying, like, we're here for you guys, you know. I could just sit here, but you know, it's for you. What do you want to know? How can I help you make your life easier?
You know, is anyone using Voxer? I go back to this every once in a while, and it's like a social media app, but it's audio, and you leave audio clips for each other, and you're in like a chat, but the chat is audio. So someone puts a little, they call it a walkie-talkie app, because you basically hit the button and you leave a message, and then everybody gets it. But you can have these little like audio conversations. And when I can get a team to be comfortable with the tech, they do a lot of chatting on that because it's just little audio blurbs. But I think, just like you said, Lauren, it's getting people comfortable with that medium and figuring out how they're going to do that. And to go with what Marby said before, you are trailblazing. And we've already made the decision earlier in this hour that this is not going away. It's going to have some form of this when we see each other in September. We need to be prepared for that, because this might be the way that staff meetings happen, or collaborations happen with teams, or coaching happens. And so I think all of these things are good experiences we're having, and it's now finding a way to get people comfortable so they will participate.
I wonder, Mike, with Voxer, I remember I forgot what you used that for a long time ago. Anyway, I remember downloading it. I wonder if that's something that you could set up.
Let me write myself a note. I'm listening. Go ahead. All right, I'm all set. Let me hear.
Kelly, we used Voxer for the AT Chat book study last summer. That's what you remember that from.
Okay.
And the one barrier I know we ran into was it doesn't transcribe the audio.
Right. It's just audio.
It's just audio. So I know when I went to our district and said, hey, how about we want to look at trying that? That was one of the barriers that they came back to me, which is a reasonable barrier.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know what you could do now though, is you could take that Voxer, if you were on your computer, and you could run it through something like Otter, and it would automatically transcribe it. You could take the audio out, which would be kind of cool. All right, so go ahead, Kelly. I'm listening anyway. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to suggest that maybe in lieu of the town hall meetups that you'll probably eventually stop, if there was another platform that was different than that what people are using, so we can kind of model a way to keep in contact with others. But I don't know, just thinking out loud. But there's also Flipgrid that does captionings. And I think Jen put in Marco Polo. I wish Marco Polo, I've been tweeting them, asking them to put live captions on Marco Polo, which darn they don't have. That would be awesome.
It's almost like a traveling town hall. So you think about folks being in town halls, we can see and talk to each other.
Right.
Yeah, I love that app. A group of my friends, we do that.
I like that Kelly's voluntolding Mike to do something. I appreciate
and I like that I wrote it down. Like I should have just ignored her and then shut her camera off. Like I don't know why I wrote it down. Like I'm not going to do it.
I like to share the voluntold wealth. It's fun.
I'm writing on the bottom of this, and you're not going to be able to see it. Well, maybe you are, because I'm going to write it clear. At the very bottom of the note, I'm going to work with Elisa on this.
Awesome.
And Kelly.
I was gonna say, wait a second. How come
you were in my mind because you called me out, but Kelly was just the reason I had to write this dumb note.
I thought I had already completed my voluntold task for the month.
And I'm gonna put this in the pile with my other ones. Here they are.
I gotta keep it traditional. I gotta volunteer someone each week. So watch out, all of you.
It's Chris. It's always Chris.
It's always Chris. I thought we had all agreed on that. Until Chris shows up again, it's always Chris.
It didn't work out for me though. Between AT Chat and this, we had voluntold, and Chris just keeps not coming.
Yeah, he hasn't come back since.
Yeah, the guy just keeps skating by, and then
he's not very busy at all.
Yeah. So speaking of voluntold, if we can just reflect on last week. So there's two things that I really enjoyed last week, and one was the AT Chat. So if you were there, thanks for letting all of us run it in kind of an out of box way. That was so much fun. That was so much fun that night. And then for Judy and Elisa's webinar was incredible. And I am so thankful. And if you have not seen that, Elisa, you should put the link in the chat box.
Yeah.
I could, but Mike put the link up and I have to find where it is. It's on Mike's page.
Do you guys care? Wait, let me bounce out it. I've been trying to not get it because I don't want to bounce out into another tab, but here you go. I'll find it.
Yeah, it was really, really great. And
it was really great.
Yeah, it really was. So thanks for doing that. That really worked out. And so they're talking about doing a part 2. And Cassie and I have already voted that a part 2 would be really great.
Well, because I commented very positively on the fact that I did not see the Zoom lean, and I saw very good posture from both of them. It was very nice to see.
It was great. I saw you write that, and I didn't acknowledge it, but I did sit up slightly. I just wanted to not be dramatic about it.
I'm watching now. I'm always watching. But no, I'm grateful Mike was willing to host it, and now he's going to put the link up. He dropped it up in YouTube, so you guys can have access to it.
That's great.
And if there's interest for part 2, I'm not sure where Judy is in her move, but she was more than willing to do a part 2 if it would be of help. We just got to get her to be in one city for a little bit.
Yeah, no, it was great. It was good information. It was really good information. I liked it a lot.
I love how Lauren I love how Lauren put in the chat box that AT chat was like a fun night at ATI after party. Well described.
Yeah, that was. I agree. Yeah, I think that's the way it was. It was perfect. And we did definitely break a record. I looked at some of the wakelets from the past. It was 525 tweets for the hour of just nonsense, and that's perfect.
That's right.
Needed that.
Yeah.
Oh, it's great.
Before we finish, can I run an idea by people that maybe folks can play with and maybe help me with, if that's okay?
Please.
So I want to get translation into Zoom, and Elisa had this great handout on doing translation in Google Meet. So I opened a Google Meet in and put it in a strip, turned on closed caption, turned on translate, and then dragged it over to a Zoom meeting. And it translated Spanish into English, but what I really wanted it for is Japanese, because I train martial arts. And we're doing, we have some teachers from Japan, and I wanted the ability to see what they were saying. So I don't know if the Spanish was just a one-time thing but anyway, it seemed like it worked, at least in that language. So at least for me, a lot of this stuff is like Tinker Toys. It's like, what can I put together with them? So it wasn't hard to do, just start an empty Google Meet, and then turn on closed caption, right click to set translate on, and then drag it into the window where you have Zoom. Has anyone tried that before?
I think Kelly's right. I think Web Captioner would do it natively in Zoom. Is that what you were thinking, Kelly?
Is that the one you have to pay for?
No, so Web Captioner is free. And Mike, I don't know if you know, but I was looking at the languages, but it would be basically, if you're using, you would have it behind your presentation. So if you have your Google Slides up, or Zoom up, you would have your screen shared and it would be behind your presentation, if that makes sense. The Web Captioner tab would be behind whatever you have shared.
Yeah, I'll have to place, the thing is I need to do it without screen sharing, because it's the teacher who's the important part there. I'm just looking for a way to get translation so I can see it. I'm not worried about the group per se. Many of them do speak Japanese.
So it should pick up your microphone on from the screen and still work and not be actually in the tab.
I'll try it.
I don't know if that made any sense, but.
No, it makes sense. And you said it's a web captioner?
It's called Web Captioner, yeah. And I just put the link in the chat.
Great.
I just put it on, Bruce. So if you look at the screen, I opened it up. I opened up this meeting in Web Captioner. Let me get rid of some of these. I got 47 windows open. Wait a second.
And I will say, I'm trying it right now, and everything that you all are saying is popping up in Web Captioner for me. And I'm not even in the Zoom. I'm not sharing my screen, obviously. So it might work.
Great. And can you specify which language? I assume you specify which language you want it translated into. That's how you use translate.
Yeah.
Can you weight it towards a specific language, like tell it to expect Japanese?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what Mike's doing, I think, right now. I don't
know what's going to happen, but let's see. What's the worst that could happen?
Well, all your screen.
Because you're not speaking. Because I translated the language that was coming into it. In Japanese, yeah. So it's not going to put it out in Japanese. It's going to put it
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll play with that. Thank you. I thought one of you guys might know of a more elegant solution than what I was trying.
Yeah, this seems like a pretty cool solution. I like this. It's a good option.
All right. Thank you. I mean, from a work standpoint, we have a lot of Spanish-speaking families, and it would be nice if it was possible to do like a meeting with them without necessarily having some low-stakes meeting without having an interpreter on the line as well.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll look into that, because one of my districts only uses Zoom.
Okay.
Could you also use? Is it Otter
Otter AI, yeah.
Otter AI. I don't think you have to be in.
Because they're now pretty nicely integrated with Zoom. I'm wondering if they would be more friendly in working with Zoom, in terms of the interface and such, since they are Zoom.
Yeah, even if you didn't have it integrated with Zoom, if you just had your own tab open and had the translation on, I wonder.
Spell that.
OTTER, otter like the animal, and
Gotcha.
then I think it's just .ai.
It is. Yeah, it's .ai.
Great. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Try that and see what happens.
I'll put the link in the chat box.
Oh, thank you. Awesome.
All right.
There you go. So what did Bruce give us? Homework. That's homework. That's nice.
No, this is
I didn't say it was bad homework. I said it's homework, but it's fun though. It's all right.
Consulting with the Geek Squad.
Yeah, exactly. You don't see anybody complaining. I'm like, oh, I'll play around with that. That's much better than this dumb voluntold thing I got.
We need like a sign or something for the Geek Squad. What should our AT tell us? We need some kind of a
ours is called the A-Team. And then I did a whole pseudo mock-up history of the original A-Team, how we were helping with assistive tech. I think they finally pulled that off the webpage.
I think
embarrassing, but I enjoyed it.
The majority of the younger speech therapists and OTs and PTs that they don't know the A-Team. It's very sad.
It is kind of sad, right? Well, then I don't really want to talk to them that much if they don't know the A-Team.
It's just they're just a different generation.
Yeah, well, all right.
Have you had the experience of talking to a student and they don't know who the Beatles are? That one really made me feel very, very old.
I will use a movie reference every once in a while and realize that not everybody is in the same generation of movies I was, and have to go, oh wait, I'm so sorry, you've never seen that.
The most important thing is, did it make you smile though?
Oh, of course.
All matters. Everybody else.
I think it was a middle school kid, and I think it was Goonies, and I was like, "You need to go tell your mom you need to watch Goonies."
I got saved. I used MacGyver in one of my webinars, and then I'm like, "Oh gosh, I think I just aged myself." And someone's like, "Oh no, MacGyver's fairly new." I'm like, "Okay, I'm talking about the original MacGyver, but I'm glad there's a new one
coming back around again." So it's
you just got to hold on, and everything comes back around. It's fine. All our old references become new again.
Or that way with our 16-year-old. Our rule is when we come up with something, we go, oh no, we failed you. We need to go watch this.
Yes.
Yep, that's right. I have failed as a parent. Let me go correct that in some way. Yep. Yes. Cass, you're absolutely right.
We buy a lot of older movies.
Hey, you got to do it.
Until you watch Grease and want your kids to see that, you're like, oh gosh, my parents let me watch this? Like, you look at it now, you're like, all these things that are in the movie.
Little innuendos and, yeah.
We may have done that.
What does that mean?
Nothing. That's a great movie. That's a great movie.
That and we started my niece and nephew early on The Princess Bride.
There you go. Another great movie.
And she didn't understand. My niece did not get it, did not think it was funny. And then like the 5th time we watched it, then like the next year she wanted a Princess Bride birthday party.
Yeah.
So I was like, my job here as an aunt is done.
Right. You've done what you needed to do. Now move on and go correct someone else somewhere else.
Yes.
All right, guys. Well, it's 1:05. I guess we should go back and do some other work.
Have fun opening those tools, Marotta.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah,
it's going to be the best. I'm gonna do it right now. It's going to be my lunch break right now.
Yay.
All right, guys. Well, it's been a pleasure. Have a good week. Join us on Wednesday for AT Chat. Who knows what the heck we're going to talk about? Karen and I will figure it out tomorrow. If you have an idea, shoot it over. We're game. Will voluntold you to participate and help. But either way. All right, guys.
Bye.
Well,
happy week.
See you later.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.